There were plenty of big time speakers in the past who thrived, but now it's time for Operation Takeover.
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue, it is something you are.
What do companies like Blockbuster, Kodak, Circuit City, what do they remind you of? Well, basically, they were top-notch companies that went broke. The time of the legends are over. The time of the top-notch speakers who were once great in the past is over. They're not going to admit it, but they're struggling to get gigs. They're struggling to fill up their schedule, and they're struggling with that drive that they once had. They won't admit it, but trust me, they are. These guys are living off the success that they once had. And honestly, I don't want to learn from someone who once had success. I want to learn from people who are being successful. In today's age, I want to learn from people who are doing the things, using the technology for nowadays, and going on to that next stage. I don't want to learn what you used to do, because what you used to do, I mean, everyone used to use landline phones. Now everyone's on a cell phone. I don't care about what you used to do. I want to know what you are doing and what you're going to do in the future. Guys who were once dominating in the 1980s, 1990s, they're no longer dominating anymore. And why is that? It's because they're resting on their laurels. And because they're resting on their laurels, you now can come in and you can take over. The only top-notch guys in today's industry are now Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk. These are the top-notch speakers who are doing it right. These are the guys who are actually getting out there and actually using the technology to their benefits. The time of the legendary speakers, the speakers who everybody knows and loves, they were great back in their days. But now that all this new technology is coming out, now that everything is changing, these guys, I mean, you don't even hear about them anymore. I mean, if you want to build your business, it is now your time. It's now your time to use the technology in ways that they aren't. They have more money than you. They can hire more people than you, but they don't have that drive the same way they once did. You might have that drive. You might have a bigger drive than they do. So use that to your advantage. I mean, don't be one of the speakers who just sits there and just rests on their laurels. That's what these top-notch guys are doing. They have all this technology, all this money, but if you look at their website, look at all the marketing they're doing, I mean, it's pretty the same as it was in 1980. Unless your name is Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone. Those are the only guys who are actually changing and doing things the way they should be doing. Everyone else with all this money, all these resources at their disposal, they're not taking advantage of it. Now's your time to take over. Now's your time to pick your market and say, I'm going to own this market. I'm going to dominate this market. This is the market that I'm going to focus on. This is the market that everyone's going to remember me by. All these top-notch guys, I mean, every single one of them, maybe with the exception of Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and Gary Vaynerchuk, these are the guys who are doing it right. More so Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, really. But all these resources that these guys have, you would think that they would own the industry. Whatever market they're talking to, they would own the industry, but they're not using social media the way they should be. They're way back. They're stuck back in the dinosaur ages, in the 1980s. Now is your time. You know the technology more than they do. You have that hunger, that drive more than they do, because they're already successful. They already have the money. So you have that hunger, that drive way more than these guys do. You can learn faster than these guys because they just don't feel like learning it. I mean, they're already successful. Use that to take over. Be the speaker who comes out of nowhere and dominates an industry.